Hi, I'm Rose Armstrong from Wounded Women Rising. Each week on Wisdom Wednesday, we explore topics that support healing, growth, confidence, and creating a life that truly feels like your own again. Today, I want to talk about financial insecurity, not budgeting, not investing, and not retirement planning. I want to talk about the fear that often sits underneath money. The fear that whispers, can I do this on my own? What if I make a wrong decision? What if I run out of money? What if I fail? And I don't know where to start. If you've ever had thoughts like these, you're in good company. Many women rebuilding their lives after abuse, divorce, or major life changes find themselves facing money in a completely different way than they have before. And that can be overwhelming. When I left my first marriage, I left with $100 and some belongings and two children. I had been a stay-at-home mom. I taught art lessons from my studio and in the community, but I did not have a full-time job. For a period of time, I stayed with friends and applied for welfare while I found work. I remember arriving at a place in my life where there was no longer anyone else managing the situation, no one else making decisions, no one else carrying the responsibility. Those belonged to me and to me alone. At the time, I was very scared. I had two sport-minded children to care for, bills to pay, groceries to buy, and I needed to find a way to find stability. The money I had was limited, very limited. I quickly realized that hoping things would work out was not a financial plan. I needed to know what was coming in and what was going out. And I needed to make those two work together. So I sat down at my kitchen table with a calculator, a pencil, a notebook, and a stack of bills. That became my classroom. Month by month, I learned. I wish I could tell you that there was some magical moment where everything suddenly became clear. There wasn't. What happened instead was much less dramatic. I learned how much things actually cost. I learned that Christmas did not happen by accident, so I put money aside each month. I learned that if I wanted money available at the end of the month for milk and bread, I needed to plan for it, so I stashed cash. I learned that birthdays could be simple and still be meaningful. I learned that some months would be easier than others. I learned that small decisions matter. I learned that planning ahead creates options. I learned that some problems can be solved and others needed to be managed. I learned that setbacks are not the end of the story. I learned that capability grows with practice. And while I was learning how to manage money, something else was happening. I learned that when life changed, I could adjust. I was learning to trust myself. Looking back now, I realize something important. The greatest gift those years gave me was not financial knowledge. The greatest gift was discovering that I was capable. And I think that is what many women are really searching for. Not more money, though more money is always helpful, but more confidence in themselves. One of the things I understand now that I didn't understand then is that confidence is rarely the starting point. We often believe we need confidence before we begin. Life has taught me the opposite. Confidence is what arrives after we begin. It grows each time we solve a problem or make a decision. Confidence grows each time we discover that we can handle something we never thought we could. And that is exactly what happened to me. I did not become confident because my circumstances suddenly improved. I became confident because I kept showing up. I kept learning. I kept making decisions. I kept solving problems. Financial confidence is not something that you're born with. It's something you develop. No one is born knowing how to manage money. No one arrives in the world understanding budgets, savings accounts, credit cards, mortgages, investments, or retirement plans. People learn. That is all. They learn. And if they can learn, so can you. I think many women carry shame around money. They feel that they're behind. They tell themselves they should already know. They tell themselves everyone else has it figured out. One of the things life has taught me is that we often compare our beginning to someone else's current reality. We see what people know today. We rarely see the mistakes they made, the questions they asked, or the lessons they learned along the way. Most capable people were once beginners. Most confident people were once unsure. Most people who understand money today learned it one step at a time. But learning is not something to be ashamed of. Learning is how capable people became capable. There's another lesson I learned along the way. Financial insecurity is not always about money. Sometimes it's about responsibility. For many women, money feels frightening because the decisions belong solely to them. There is no one else to ask permission from, no one else to blame, no one else making the decisions. That responsibility can feel heavy. I know it did for me. But over time, something unexpected happens. The more decisions you make, the more experience you gain, the more confidence you develop. Eventually, you stop seeing responsibility as something frightening. You begin to see it as evidence that you are capable, not perfect, capable. As the years went on, I continued learning. I tracked my spending. I created spreadsheets, kind of nerdy, but that's me. I looked for ways to increase my income. There were times I worked a second job. There were times I rented out a bedroom so my daughter could attend school away from home. I started a side hustle business. I did what was necessary, not because I knew everything, but because I was willing to learn. I'm still learning. And this is the message I want to share with you today. You do not need to know everything. You only need to learn the next thing. If money feels overwhelming, become curious. Read a book. Listen to one podcast. Watch a video from someone who teaches personal finance in a way that makes sense to you. Now, you may need to discover more than one and find the best fit for you. You can talk to a financial advisor, one who is willing to educate rather than just sell products, and ask questions. Visit a local library, check into community or church programs. You do not need to become an expert overnight. You simply need to become a little more informed than you were yesterday. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make is believing we need to understand our entire financial future before we take action. You don't. You only need the next step, the next question, the next conversation, the next lesson, and the next decision. Looking back, if I could sit across the table from the woman I was all those years ago, this is what I would tell her. Take a breath. You do not need to solve next year today. You do not need to have all the answers immediately. Learn one thing. Ask one question and act on it. Make one decision and act on it. Then make the next one. Perhaps that is the message you need to hear today. Because there may be a part of you that is worried about money, or you wonder if you can do this. There may be a part of you that questions whether you are capable, and there may be a part of you that's afraid of getting it wrong. If that sounds familiar, I want you to hear this. You are more capable than you think. Not because life will always be easy, not because you will never make mistakes, but because human beings learn. They adapt, they grow, and you can too. So let me leave you with one question. What is one small step you could take this week to become a little more informed about your money? Not next month, not next year, this week. What is one small step or one small act of courage or even a small investment in yourself? Because capability is built one action at a time. As we come to the end of our time together today, I'd like to offer you something for your soul. If you're able, pause for a moment. Lower your gaze or gently close your eyes and place a hand on your heart. Take a breath and allow these words to settle where they are needed most. May you become curious about your finances. May you have the courage to ask questions and seek understanding. May you remember that learning is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of growth. May you trust yourself enough to take the next step, even when you do not see the entire path ahead. May your confidence grow through knowledge. May your wisdom grow through experience. And may you discover, as I did all those years ago, that you are far more capable than you realize. If today's conversation resonated with you and you're feeling uncertain about your next step, I invite you to book a Freedom to Be You call. Together, we'll explore where you are, where you'd like to be, your challenges, and what your next step might look like. You don't need all the answers. You only need a place to begin. With warmth for your heart and strength for your inner world, that's enough for today. I'll see you next week.